Halloween 2020. Scary for all the wrong.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You got me? Yeah. Check, check, check. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check, check. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
You're good.
Thank you.
So we got about 3 minutes until the top. We got the first.
Police say she told them she spent the money on her side of the family. Next track.
First at 4, trick-or-treating is finally back. Now families are sharing in the excitement just days ahead of Halloween.
The kids can't go out and celebrate in their neighborhoods like they normally would, so we don't want them to miss out, so we're going to bring it to them.
When kids can't go out to celebrate Halloween, Connecticut Children's Hospital does what they can do to bring the celebrations directly to the kids.
It's been 10 years since the historic and snowy nor'easter storm that shut down Halloween. We look back.
And a wife allegedly steals over $600,000 from her husband over 20 years. We're taking a look at the arrest warrant uncovering what police say happened.
Fox 61 News First at 4 starts now.
Thanks for joining us here on the News at 4 on this Friday. I'm Ben Goldman.
And I'm Jen Bernstein. We start off with a live look right now at downtown Hartford. The weather fairly calm right now. The sunshine and cool temperatures out there on this beautiful fall day.
Definitely feeling like fall. Heading into the Halloween weekend. Rain, unfortunately, is coming. Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank joining us now. Rachel, will that impact Halloween festivities, or are we going to be okay?
No, we're going to be okay. I think that rain is going to exit just in time for the day on Sunday, which we really like to see. But unfortunately, Saturday, not looking so great. We've got anywhere between a half an inch to an inch and a half of rain that we definitely do not need headed this way, along with a gusty breeze. So when will that rain get here? It looks like it'll be as we head towards and after the news at 10 or or 11 o'clock tonight. So if you have anything going on over the course of the next several hours or so, go right ahead. We're not anticipating any weather issues. I did want to tell you that later tonight into tomorrow morning, not for inland Connecticut, but just the immediate shoreline, there is a wind advisory in effect. So make sure you're securing those Halloween decorations. This could be enough to kind of shake loose a few tree limbs. We're not expecting winds to be as gusty inland. So these gusts between 35 and 45, again, that's going to be for the immediate shoreline, but gusts will be lower than that for inland Connecticut. Still, it'll be gusty with the rain nonetheless as we head into the day tomorrow. Right now, we're looking at temperatures that are in the 50s through most of the state. Some of our cooler spots in northern Connecticut did start the day off with some patchy frost. Here's the timing of that rain. This is 11 o'clock at night. Notice as we head through the evening, we'll increase our chances of seeing a few showers, chance for a locally heavy downpour. And tomorrow is just a cloudy and damp day with off and on rain. At 10 a.m., it's not too heavy, but as we head through the middle of the day and into the evening, things will kind of pick up again off and on through your Saturday. We'll take a look at that, plus your trick or treat forecast in just a bit.
All right, Rachel, thank you. COVID-19 put a damper on Halloween celebrations last year. This year, people are hoping to enjoy it more safely, of course.
Fox 61's Matt Karen joining us live at the Urban League's Trunk or Treat event in Hartford to see how families are more excited this year than ever before. Hey, Matt.
Yeah, hi guys. Well, there was still some trick-or-treating last year, obviously, but certainly nothing like we're expected to see with the resurgence this year. The kids we've talked to are really excited about it. And as you mentioned, right now we're here at the Urban League of Greater Hartford's trick-or-treating event here in their parking lot on Woodland Street. It just started. Kids are starting to filter in. They got some pretty creative costumes too, but it goes until 6 o'clock tonight, so still have some time to get on down here for some free fun and, yes, candy too. Halloween 2020. Scary for all the wrong reasons.
I'm much more optimistic this year.
From candy shoots and virtual haunts, even the pumpkins were wearing masks.
These kids are practicing for the big weekend.
Now we have vaccines.
This year, many more people in our city vaccinated. Great opportunities for kids to get out, get some fresh air, get some exercise.
So bring on the kids.
Yeah, I'm excited for trick-or-treating.
The costumes.
You too can look like me.
And the candy.
All of them. I like all of them.
But with a kid's vaccine still about a week away, COVID safety begins with the adults. And if you plan on interacting with the little ones, health experts say, unlike the Tin Man, have a heart and get vaccinated to make sure you're able to hand out candy instead of COVID. Friday's Fright Fest on the library lawn in Waterbury had the kids on an early sugar high.
I just love trick-or-treating all around, going to different houses and getting lots of candy.
While parent Nagin Kajit was excited for her first Halloween with the kids ever as an immigrant from Iran.
We can't keep our children in-house forever. They need to socialize, to see other people, to communicate with them.
Cyril the Sorcerer telling Fox 61 that this year, COVID won't keep us apart.
We have a feeling that through the magic of vaccination, the magic of masking, the magic of health, we are coming back together again.
All right, pretty cool stuff there. And some other advice from the experts. Remember, if you can, to travel in smaller groups. And also remember that Halloween activities outside are still a lot safer than indoors. So instead of a haunted house, maybe make it a haunted corn maze this year, or perhaps an enchanted forest. We're live here in Hartford. Matt Karen, Fox 61 News.
And we got to see baby Karen, too. And
I know, so
Love
cute,
it, Matt. All right, thank you.
A lot of people excited this year. All right, we have some breaking news just into the newsroom right now. The Food and Drug Administration has approved emergency use of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for kids ages 5 to 11.
Big news here. The doses are just a third of the amount given to both teens and adults. It's expected that 28 million more children could become eligible for the vaccine as early as next week. On Tuesday of next week, an advisory panel for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will make recommendations on which children should get the shot. The final decision from the CDC is expected days after receiving that advice. Meanwhile, Halloween is just around the corner, and federal health officials are pulling out all the stops to make sure that trick-or-treating doesn't become a super spreader event.
Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seri has more from Atlanta.
It's Halloween weekend, and the CDC is encouraging kids to get out and trick-or-treat, hoping to make up for last year when activities were canceled in many areas. But they're also giving last-minute safety reminders, telling parents to hold parties and group activities outside, keep those masks on, and social distance when handing out candy. And as for those sweet treats, doctors are warning folks not to disinfect them after a number of kids got sick last year as parents tried to keep COVID off the candy.
The good news is that contaminated surfaces are proving not to be a major source of infection. So I wouldn't worry much about the treats your children get. Just make sure the hands are clean while enjoying it.
It could also be a make or break weekend for mandates in some big cities like New York, where vaccine requirements kick in for all city workers at 5 p.m. today. There are still thousands of unvaccinated first responders, including a third of fire department personnel. But city officials say they're ready to fill the gap, and they are expecting most workers, including cops and firefighters, to follow the new rule.
We've had significant increase in people getting vaccinated in the last 3 days. And that's the good news here.
But some say they're sticking to their guns, claiming they'd rather quit than get their shots.
We're being treated like numbers on a spreadsheet rather than workers.
On Thursday, Florida officials filed a lawsuit trying to prevent a vaccine mandate for all federal workers, scheduled to take effect in December. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Jonathan, thank you. First at 4, following a developing story here this hour, a New Britain police officer seriously injured after being hit. Early this morning, the officer's car was hit at the intersection of Chestnut Street and the Harry S. Truman overpass by the courthouse. The officer was responding to an emergency call while the car that he was in, his patrol car, was hit by another vehicle. Both cars were significantly damaged by this. The officer is in the hospital with serious injuries.
Today, Governor Ned Lamont announcing a special election to fill former state representative Michael DeMassa's vacant position. DeMassa resigned from his position in office after allegations that he stole more than $600,000 in COVID-19 relief funds from West Haven. The special election for the state representative position, which covers parts of West Haven and New Haven, will be held on December 14th. Well, new details in a case of alleged elder fraud. Police say a woman has admitted to stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from her husband's money and giving it to her side of the family.
Today, we obtained a copy of the arrest warrant, which Fox 61's Tony Terzi is breaking down for us now live from the East Haven Police Department. Quite the story here, Tony.
Guys, it really is a crazy story, Ben and Jen. Good afternoon, everyone. But you see, the husband in this case, who is the victim, fully admits that his wife, this was possible because his wife at the time had complete access and control of their financial records. The daughter of a now 73-year-old East Haven man alerted cops last year that she believed her stepmother, Donna Marino, had stolen up to $600,000 of her dad's money. So they began an extensive investigation.
It was determined that a large amount of pension checks and settlement agreements were forged, including power of attorney paperwork.
The arrest warrant affidavit also alleges workmen's compensation and Social Security payments were among John Marino's money funneled to a bank account other than the couple's account for perhaps up to 20 years. But how was it undetected?
She was able to convince her husband that he was suffering from Alzheimer's disease.
And the warrant states 63-year-old Donna Marino, who's charged with first-degree larceny and third-degree forgery, prevented her husband from finding out more about their money by discouraging him from going into the bank, claiming that he had made a scene before because of his Alzheimer's.
She was able to convince him over the course of many years that he was suffering from Alzheimer's, which prevented him from doing certain things he wanted to do.
Police claim the statute of limitations prevented them from going back more than 5 years as they investigated this fraud case.
I believe we were able to confirm somewhere in the ballpark of $200,000 to $250,000, which is still a substantial amount.
John and Donna Marino are in the midst of a divorce and no longer live at the Tyler Street address where the alleged fraud took place. Now, the charge of first-degree larceny, which is a Class B felony, carries with it up to 20 years in prison and up to a $15,000 fine if convicted there. We may next hour have an opportunity to hear from Donna Marino. Let you more about that coming up on the Fox 61 News. For now, we're live in East Haven. Tony Terzi, Fox 61 News.
All right, Tony, we'll see you at 5 o'clock. Thank you. More to come this hour here at 4 o'clock. The president's Build Back Better plan is a nationwide plan, but today we're getting a look at what it could mean for us in Connecticut. What both of our senators had to say about the infrastructure bill coming up.
And this day 10 years ago, our state was battered with a brutal nor'easter. A look back at this October Halloween storm of 2011 coming up.
Now, we all remember Halloween was canceled that year, and this year we are looking much better and even brighter. We'll talk about it. Your full forecast coming up.
One, two, three, four. Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
President Joe Biden meeting with Italian President Sergio Mattarella and Pope Francis today to start off his trip to Europe.
He's set to attend 2 summits, even as his domestic agenda still hangs in the balance.
A deal on the infrastructure and social spending bills has not been reached yet. The president's $1.75 trillion proposition includes funding for childcare, housing, and climate initiatives.
No one got everything they wanted, but it's a transformative package.
Now, climate change will be the dominant issue on the president's trip, but the COVID-19 pandemic and supply chain disruptions are expected to be addressed as well, both threatening the global economic recovery. This historic $1.75 trillion Build Back Better plan will greatly impact the lives of Connecticut residents and businesses.
Today, local officials weighed in on what the approval of this plan would mean. Amanda Rouse joins us to break down what was said. Amanda.
Well, Jen and Ben, today U.S. Senators Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy detailed how the framework agreement for President Biden's plan will benefit the people of Connecticut. That framework makes significant investments in child care, universal preschool, more affordable health care, housing and workforce development. Senator Blumenthal called the plan transformational and said it will change the face of American education.
If it were climate change alone, if it were preschool alone, if it were housing alone, any one of these programs would mean a major step forward, and together they will transform quality of life in America.
Senator Blumenthal highlighted another part of the framework agreement. You heard a little bit about it there, investing in clean energy and combating climate change.
We really have a chance of conquering climate change. We'll meet many of our goals because of reductions in emissions, because of coastal resiliency, because of the Civilian Conservation Corps that will enable a lot of kids to do work in their communities. The Civilian Conservation Corps will mean that young people can do work to make their own communities more resilient.
Over the past several months, Senators Blumenthal and Murphy have met with residents and businesses in every corner of Connecticut to get their feedback regarding what they wanted to see in the final package agreement. A deal still has to be made in Congress on the President Biden's agenda, something that Ben and Jen, you mentioned just a short time ago.
Indeed, Amanda. All right, thank you.
Well, 10 years ago today, one of the biggest weather disasters in Connecticut history caused a record number of power outages.
Feels like yesterday. Meteorologist Dan Amarante takes a look back.
It's been called Snowtober, the Frankenstorm, or simply the October snowstorm. This powerful nor'easter on October 29th, 2011 brought huge impacts to our state. Did you lose power in that storm? You probably did. Let's revisit what made this such a disaster.
We're going to have extensive and long-term power outages.
Oh, yes, we did. Some customers lost power for up to 2 weeks as that early season storm brought heavy snow across Connecticut. A series of events made this storm even worse. In late summer of that year, Tropical Storm Irene and the remnants of Tropical Storm Lee brought record flooding rains to the state, which then led to a much later than average fall foliage season. And with the leaves just about all still on the trees on October 29th, the snow began to fall. How much snow? Well, here's a clip from our newscast 10 years ago today. So your snow forecast, this is what you're going to be seeing by tomorrow morning. Around 6 to 10 inches across a good chunk of the state. 3 to 6, a very slushy 3 to 6 along the shoreline, and upwards of 10 to 14 inches in western Connecticut, and especially in the northwest higher elevations. Thanks, younger Dan. Well, in the days after that, it was a rough time to be in Connecticut. 900,000 customers lost power. Traffic lights were out across countless intersections. Roads were shut down or blocked for several days. And most importantly, Halloween was canceled in many communities.
It's hard, and it's hard to do anything with the kids. Last time the kids could go outside and they can still play. Now it's too cold for them to do it.
In this state of emergency, however, we saw some of the good of humanity. People that did have power or had a generator would open up their homes to those who didn't. We also saw neighbors helping neighbors clean up all that tree damage, and people bringing hot coffee to hard-working line crews in the cold. But there were certainly frustrations. Connecticut Light and Power was heavily criticized for their preparation and response to the storm, and Chief Operating Officer Jeffrey Butler ended up losing his job due to the outage debacle. And since the storm, tree trimming efforts were ramped up, and the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, or PURA, was established. And exactly 1 year later, in 2012, Hurricane Sandy hit the Northeast, knocking out power to over 600,000 customers and canceling Halloween yet again. Let's just be glad that something of that caliber is not happening this year. Happy Halloween. I'm Dan Amarante, Fox 61.